Lions, whoever their head coach is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Wayne Fonts now. He had these last 4 games to turn it around, but whoever it is, they've got a lot of work to do on this offense.
Well, they've had a great turnover in the roster, Randy. A third of this Lions roster, in fact, is new to Detroit this year. So they're in a rebuilding process, no question about that, with a new coach, possibly Wayne Fonts, but that, of course, has to yet be decided. Going back to pass again as Hilger bobbles the ball, has it, throws. It's caught by Bland. He's got the 40, the 35, the 30, down to the 25, and a penalty marker's been thrown. See whether it'll affect the player or not as far as Detroit is concerned. Otherwise, Bland was out of bounds at the 25-yard line with a gain of about 18 yards for Joey Browner, was the man who forced him out. But they're calling the play back. It's going to be against the Lions.
Wow. I'll tell you what, that time the Vikings were blitzing. Jesse Solomon came.
Number 30 offense. Third down.
Number 30 is James Jones. He was in the slot position that time. He ran a little pick pattern. That's why Bland came so open. But the thing I wanted to get back to was that the Vikings were blitzing on that play. You know, when you're leading 23-0 and you're clobbering a team like they're doing to Detroit right now, if I were an offensive lineman, that would add a little insult to injury, I think.
Third down and 14 to go instead of first out, the 25-yard line. So that penalty actually cost the Lions 28 yards. As they're back now at the 47-yard line on the third down. Here's Hilger ready again, going back to pass, being rushed. Throws over the left flat there to Jones. He's in trouble, though, and he goes down at the 49-yard line, gains only 3 yards. And so Arnold will be back into punt for Detroit.
There's nothing Hilger could do on that play. He had Chris Dolman that time had beaten his man, and he was chasing him out of the pocket. Hilger had to get rid of the ball. There was no way to throw anything downfield. I know the fans don't like this, but hey, when you've got defensive linemen chasing you around, you get ready to dump it. And looks to me like a few of the fans are dumping it right now. We see the exits pretty clogged with people headed out.
Al Baker and Jesse Solomon were the two who stopped that play, as all set once again is Arnold. He's averaging 49 yards a punt today and gets this one high in the air. Not as much distance, but well covered on a high punt. It's going to bound toward the far sideline and going out of bounds in the neighborhood of the 21-yard line. So that's about a 30-yard punt to bring that average down a little bit. And Arnold, let's see, has now punted 2, 4, 6, 7 times this afternoon. That would be his 8th.
Well, looking ahead, the Vikings, I think they're at a point now where they can start looking what they have down the road. Next week, I believe they have the New Orleans Saints, which is going to be a tough game for them. They have to get by. And then the final game of this 1988 season, I believe, is a Monday night game between the Vikings and Chicago.
That'll be a great one.
And that ought to be a dandy.
Of course, if the Bears maintain their 2-game lead, it would not have any bearing on the division title. Here once again is Wilson throwing out the near side. Caught there that time at Jordan, the tight end. And he's down up around the 29-yard line. Bruce McNorton was the man who got him. However, the Vikings could very well be playing still for a playoff berth and maybe a home field advantage in the wild card situation in that game.
I think most importantly to the Vikings is that they continue to win so that they don't fall back into a tie situation with I believe the Giants have 5 losses and the Cardinals have 5 losses. You know, they don't want to get back in a situation where they have to tangle with them. They would like to control their own destiny, stay on top of things, and keep everybody chasing them, even if it's for the wild card.
Second down, 4 to go now for the Vikings, starting the receivers on the right side. Wade Wilson calling signals, has the ball, takes a short drop, throws over to the right, is caught there by Carter, and he's down at the 40-yard line. A gain of 12 yards for Carter on that play. One happy note for Detroit here today, Randy, the fact that more people came out than was their last case. Detroit drew only 26,000 fans here a couple of weeks ago against Tampa Bay, and that was the smallest in 37 years and dates back, of course, to their playing days at the old Tiger Stadium. Today, they have a crowd in here of about 46,500, 46,379 to be exact. Although, as Randy just mentioned, that has now possibly dwindled down closer to about 30,000. Getting back and getting those turkeys going. All set, first down and 10. Here's the pitch back to Anderson, going wide to the right side, cuts back in, gets to the 40, up to the 41-yard line. Benny Blades came across to stop him for Detroit. Gain of only a yard.
I got to keep saying, though, Benny Blades was up there. And there's Chris Spielman again, just hustling all over the field, trying to make plays. There is no way that this team has let down. They're just outclassed today. That's all. They're just overmatched.
Second and 10 at the 40-yard line. Carter, by the way, now has 85 yards. As I have mentioned earlier, he needs 150 yards to break Ahmad Rashad's Minnesota record. And we have to assume that that'll take place, if not today, in the very near future with 3 games to go. Coming far to the left side is Hassan Jones now on a wide split out left. Going up right is Anthony Carter. 2nd and 10. Pitch back this time to Rice, getting a block. Turns the corner at the 40 to 45 and goes to the 49-yard line. Gains about 9, a yard short of a first down before Michael Kofer stopped him.
Talking about Anthony Carter, last year he was complaining a little bit towards the end of the year that he wasn't getting the ball enough. They get into the playoffs, and against the San Francisco 49ers, I believe, he set a playoff record in yards. He had a big game against the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs. So this year, Jerry Burns, the head coach of the Vikings, says, all right, you want the ball, we'll get it to you. Now look what he's done this year. He set, he's on his, he's already upped his career catches.
Up the line of scrimmage they come now on 3rd down and short yardage, about a foot to go. 3rd and 1. As Anderson and Rice both in there, the ball given Anderson. He's hit behind the line of scrimmage. Tackled at the 46-yard line by Jerry Holmes, and that'll force the Vikings into a punting situation. They had 3rd down and a couple of feet and lost about 3 yards.
Jerry Holmes came to the Lions this year, signed on as a free agent. He started back with the Jets, only 7-year veteran. He played a couple of years in the USFL, and he was still there when I was there. Good one-on-one cover, but he went to the USFL, came out of there, and now he's with the Detroit Lions. Did a nice job of forcing that running play.
Here's Scribner back to punt for the 3rd time in the last 3 possessions. Minnesota's offense slowing down a bit. They've got a 23-point lead. 35-yard average so far for Scribner today. As Bucky gets the snap, gets his kick away. It's coming down to Bland, backpedaling inside the 10, takes it to the 6-yard line, comes straight up the middle of the 15 to the 20, runs it back to the 25 to the 30, and down he goes after a run back of 24 yards on the play. So there to be first down. The tackle made to Reggie Rutland on the special teams for the Vikings. First down for Detroit. 6:13 to go in the game with a score 23-0 in favor of Minnesota. And let's take a timeout.
The Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco. The Jones House on Elm Street. They don't seem to have a lot in common. But look closer, and you'll find the Jones House is protected by Transamerica Insurance and Transamerica Title. Their new kitchen was made possible by a home equity loan from Transamerica Financial Services. Even Mr. Jones is covered by a policy from the Transamerica Life Companies, because we believe in keeping up with the Joneses. Transamerica, the power of the pyramid is working for you.
Well, as the Lions have the ball back, and they'll start this possession at their 30-yard line, the closing 6 1/4 minutes of the game, and for that, we'll be back in just a moment.
Well, you know us. We like to shake things up.
The Fur Vault.
Fashions change. Women change. I don't think that women fall out of love with their fur coats. I think they fall in love with another idea. That's what my buyback contract is all about. Under the buyback contract, all you have to do is 2 things. Clean and store your coat, maintain it with us, and you have to use the credit towards another fur of equal or greater value.
The amount of your credit is determined by the price you paid and the date you purchased your fur. The buyback contract is available exclusively at the Fur Vault on every fur all year round, even during our Thanksgiving sale. You'll find natural mahogany mink coats that were originally $4,000, now just $2,395. Brightener added Tibetan lamb jackets that were $1,000, now just $295.
Hurry into the Thanksgiving Day sale now through Saturday at the Fur Vault at Riches. All furs labeled to show country of origin and are subject to prior sale. Interim markdowns may have been taken. The Fur Vault at Riches Lenox Square Mall.
Well, the Detroit Lions have the ball. They've had it only 14.5 minutes today compared to 39 1/4 for the Minnesota Vikings. And ball control for the Vikings has been instrumental in their lead of 23 points. They're all set as Detroit up the line of scrimmage. Hilger with a 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line. Rusty calling his signals, might be checking off here. The long count, has the ball. He's going back to pass. Looks downfield, throws it over the middle. It is incomplete. Intended for Chadwick. The flanker back on the outside, cutting up the middle at the 45-yard line where Carl Lee broke it up for Minnesota, and that'll make it 2nd and 10.
Right, there was Carl Lee. What a season, what a game he's having. He was just all over the receiver that time. There was no way that pass could be completed.
Hilger now has thrown 12 passes in this second half since taking over from Chuck Long. He's completed only 4 of them. 1 interception. He's had 44 yards. The total now for the Detroit Lions, by the way, up to 61 yards in this game, contrasted to 313 for the Vikings. Hilger's ready. 2nd and 10. Back to pass. He goes from a shotgun. Being rushed from behind now. Throws his pass. And it is incomplete. Penalty mark has been thrown at the point of reception. We might have an interference call over there. Jeff Chadwick was the intended receiver. Hit by Reggie Rutland in the process. And they're going to call something here. It looks like it might be against the Detroit Lions.
Well, when things are going bad, they're going bad. They threw the flag right at Reggie Rutland, the defensive back, but apparently the receiver going down.
Pass interference. Number 89 offense. Passes declined. 3rd down.
That was Jeff Chadwick. He was the receiver down there. Gave Reggie Rutland a push, and then he turned to come back for the ball. Didn't matter anyway because the pass was incomplete. It wasn't going to be completed. And, well, that's the way it goes. When things are going bad, they're going bad.
So Minnesota says, no, we don't want the penalty. We want the ball back, and let's use up a down on the play and let them start again from the previous line of scrimmage at 30. They don't accept the penalty, which would have taken it back 10 yards to 20. And it's 3rd and 10 now from the 30-yard line. So from a shotgun once again is Rusty Hilger. His receivers are Bland and Chadwick. Got another one in there now. Starring is in there. Going back to pass again is Hilger. Being rushed from behind again. Throws his pass, and it's incomplete. Coming up from the blind side on him. Rusty's just getting that ball away in time, but it's incomplete. Intended for Starring. And in to punt once again comes Jim Arnold.
The offensive line for the Lions just having a tough time out there, especially at this point in the game when they're just backing off and coming. Over on the other sideline, we see Kramer warming up for the Vikings. We'll probably see him on the next series coming out there and get everybody into the game and get them a little action.
Arnold ready to punt again. He's had a 46-yard average today on 7 kicks. Here's the snap and the kick. Beautiful high spiral. Chasing Lewis back once again to his 16-yard line. Brings it up the 20, up to the 23, 27-yard line, and down he goes. And there to be 1st down and 10 to go for the Lions. And now let's look at this one. Here's today's chunky super lineman. What do you say, Randy? You have a favorite?
Well, I got to tell you something. If you think I'm going to pick out one of these defensive linemen for the Vikings and say he was the best, you're crazy. There's no way. They just played so well as a unit. They all deserve it. Chris Dolman and Keith Millard, Henry Thomas, Doug Martin, Al Baker. From the opening play of this game, they have controlled that line of scrimmage. Give it to all 5 of them.
So we'll say the Chunky Super Lineman is a lineman today. Chunky Super Lineman, sponsored by Campbell's Chunky Soup. It takes care of the meanest appetites. And these Vikings have been mean today. Here's the handoff of the ball given. This time to Harris. Harris takes it up the 30, 31-yard line before Keith Ferguson made the stop. Wilson, by the way, quarterbacking the Vikings now, is 16 for 21 for 186 yards. Remember, in the previous game, he had the 391 yards against Detroit for a career high. Tommy Kramer has come into the ball game now for the Minnesota Vikings, replacing Wade Wilson. Tommy Kramer's in for the first time today, coming in to replace Wade Wilson, who checked out with that last figure I just gave you, and all set with 2nd down. And about 6 to go now for the Vikings from the 32. As Kramer has the ball, hands it off to Rice. Rice carries it up the 30-yard line, gains about 4 yards on the play before Jerry Ball stops him.
Speaking of this defensive line of the Vikings, you know, up in Minneapolis they're already comparing this line to the famed Purple People Eaters of a couple 10, 15 years ago. You know, that was Carl Eller, Ellen Page, Jim Marshall and the boys. That was a pretty good defense. That's a pretty good comparison right there. I'll tell you, I think that this young defensive line is only going to get better. And I think the Vikings could really become a dominant. They already are, but they could become more dominant in the NFL if they keep progressing.
3rd down and 2 to go now for the Vikings. They're at their own 36-yard line. Clock down to 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Here's the handoff, and the ball is given to Anderson. Anderson straight through the middle. Gets to the 40-yard line. Michael Koper got him at about the 41. Plenty of yardage for a 1st down and 10 for the Vikings. Before they run the next series, Randy, we're going to break it here for a moment. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations to identify themselves. This is the CBS Radio Network.
All news every weekday morning, 5 to 9 a.m. We are the news station. WGST Atlanta. News Radio 92.
That, by the way, was the 22nd 1st down for Minnesota in this ball game. Detroit has only 3 in contrast. It's 1st and 10 now for the Vikings at the Minnesota 41-yard line. Tommy Kramer quarterbacking, moves Rice out in motion to the right side. The handoff is given to Harris, and Harris is down the moment he got the ball. Hit by Keith Ferguson of Detroit. right at the line of scrimmage and thrown back. Might have lost something. He did. Lost about 1.5 yards. Second down, call it 12 to go for the Vikings.
Of course, Keith Ferguson in there. He teams with Mike Kofer, a couple of pretty good pass rushers. They really haven't been able to do it today, but in the past they certainly have. Keith Ferguson has 7.5 sacks. Mike Kofer had 11 coming in, and I believe he's got 1 today, so he's got 12. A couple of pretty good pass rushers there.
Vikings now from the 39-yard line. Coming wide to the left side is Lewis, setting him a slot back formation. The inside man is Hassan Jones. Wide to the right side is Jim Gustafson, in for Carter. In motion now goes Lewis. Handoff is given this time to Harris, and then around to the left, cuts at the 40, the 45, the 50, and down to the Detroit 48-yard line. So a gain of about 13 yards there before Devon Mitchell made the stop on the play. Devon Mitchell got him just past the midfield stripe, so it's 1st and 10 to go on the 23rd first down of the day for Minnesota.
Don, we have to get this one in there at right guard for the Minnesota Vikings, Randy Rasmussen. I'll tell you.
Randy Rasmussen, somebody said that was your son.
It's hard.
He must be about 9 years old.
Wait a minute. It's hard to be two places at once. I guess I am right now, though. He's in there playing right guard.
Clock coming down to the 2-minute warning, Randy, for the second half here, and there it is. 2 minutes left in this ball game at the 2-minute warning. We've got an official timeout. And next time you're out, shop at Sears, where you get your money's worth and a whole lot more. With the score, Detroit 0 and Minnesota 23. Let's take a timeout.
High-tech equipment, expert mechanics, a whole lot more. Speedy service, convenient hours. Who else gives you and your car all this and more?
Sears, your money's worth and a whole lot more.
Like die-hard batteries, road handler, all-season performance radials, and steady rider shocks and struts. Only at Sears, where we install confidence and a whole lot more.
Sears, your money's worth and a whole lot more.
Do you, Harold, take Gloria to be your wife?
Harold?
Here, take a Vicks throat drop with instant action. It works on contact, so you'll get cough relief. You know, like a cough syrup, only faster.
Take it and answer the man, Harold.
You take Gloria as your wife?
You know, I'm not really sure.
Vicks throat drops with instant action, because faster relief is better relief. Use as directed. And for other times when you need vitamin C, try Vicks Vitamin C drops.
Many of you are creatures of habit, like I was. I had never used an electric shaver. Then I tried the Remington Microscreen and fell in love. The Remington Microscreen shaves as close as a blade or your money back. Remington has 2 thin, flexible screens. The first screen shaves incredibly close. The second even closer. And this Christmas, the Remington Microscreen rechargeable shaver is at the lowest price ever. It's the perfect gift.
1st and 10 at the 48-yard line of Detroit for the Minnesota Vikings. A reminder that Jim Nantz and Hank Stram are standing by in Dallas as the Texas matchup between the Cowboys and the Houston Oilers, and that'll be heard over many of these same CBS radio stations. In this one, Minnesota commands at 23-0 over Detroit, and we've got about 2 minutes to go, and we've got the ball at the 48-yard line with a 1st and 10 for Minnesota. Here's the pitch back this time to Anderson. Takes it down to about the 45 to the 44-yard line. Gains 3 yards. Michael Kofer was the man who made the stop on the play. And that'll make it a 2nd down and about 7 to go.
Okay, we see some other substitutes in there for the Vikings. In at right tackle now is Todd Callis. It's interesting to note that Todd Callis and Randall McDaniel, the starting left guard, were the starting guards on the college out of Arizona State, right?
Right.
And, McDaniel was drafted in the 1st round. Todd was drafted in the 4th round. Here they are on the same team again. McDaniel, as you said, starting his 12th game of the season today. Todd Callis is the backup, and he's in there now.
Actually, one of the other things beside the scoreboard, Randy, today showing that 23-0 lead, there are other ways of measuring the dominance of Minnesota in this ball game, and one is time of possession. Now, of the first 58 minutes of the game, Minnesota had the ball 42.5 minutes, Detroit only 15.5. In yardage now, 332 to 61, favoring the Vikings. And up the line of scrimmage they are on a 2nd down and about 5 to go. The pitch back this time giving the ball to Harris. Harris over the left side past the 40, gets down to about the 37-yard line where Michael Kofer stopped him again. But that's enough for another 1st down for the Vikings. Clock moving with 1:40.
You know, one thing I like, though, is I still see people out there hustling around for the Detroit Lions. We keep coming back to Chris Spielman on that play. He was just hustling his heart out over there to go make the play. He hasn't given up. And I'll tell you, that's the kind of thing that this Detroit Lion team will be rebuilt on again next year. People like this are the ones you build around to make a team. Now, we don't know if, no one knows if it's going to be Wayne Fonts or if it's going to be Jerry Glanville or Chuck Knox or who it's going to be, but these will be the catalysts around which you build a team.
Once again, Tommy Kramer ready, quarterback in the Vikings. First down at the 37-yard line, has the ball, pitches back, this time out to Rice. Rice cutting over tackle, goes past the 35 and down to the 33-yard line where Benny Blades made the stop. Well, that'll be a guessing game between seasons if it's not announced earlier, of course, Randy, as to who will lead these Lions.
The management of the Lions said that they were giving Wayne Fonts these last 4 games. It was his job to lose. Now, I don't know how you judge today's game because they're just totally outmatched here up and down the line. I think what happens the rest of the season will have a lot to do whether Fonts is back or not. But this is really it's really difficult. I hope they don't judge Wayne Fonts on today's game simply because they just are overmatched.
Kramer once again ready on second down now, about 6 to go. Has the ball, hands it off to Anderson, and Anderson drives it up to about the 32, going straight through the middle before George Jamison hit him. We know the Lions have the clock winding down to 6 seconds. Green Bay, Chicago, and Tampa Bay, and their performance in those 3 games remaining will, of course, have a big bearing on it. There it is, the clock winding down to 0, and the gun, the final score here at the Silverdome, Minnesota 23 and Detroit nothing. Let's pause for this word.
Presents with the future. Oh, a Black & Decker toaster oven. What a great present.
It's a present with a future. And a lot less hassle than our big oven.
So it'll get plenty of use, huh?
Use? Marie, take my hand. I see us having romantic brunches together, making eggs Benedict, oysters Rockefeller.
I see you making breakfast for the kids tomorrow.
You do?
Well, sure. Bagels, muffins, lots of things.
Breakfast, the kids? Me?
Yeah.
The versatile toaster oven.
Presents with the future.
From Black & Decker.
Here's why people who can't wait too long for answers feel better with State Farm. You've got an important question about your family insurance. You don't want to talk to some stranger about it, and you can't wait too long to get an answer. But you're with State Farm, so you just call your State Farm agent. Talk to someone you know and trust, and get a knowledgeable answer right away. Responsiveness. It's one more reason why you feel better with State Farm.
And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Well, Randy, complete Minnesota domination of this ballgame today, as was anticipated. The contrast showing here with Detroit had 10 possessions. 8 times they punted. Twice they were intercepted for their 10 times they had the ball. Minnesota put together 5 successive scoring possessions on 3 field goals from 22, 24, and 18 yards by Chuck Nelson, and a couple of drives that went 72 and 65 yards, and Alfred Anderson scoring from 2 yards and 1 yard out. And I think there's no surprise here. This is the way I think we expected it to go, and it came out that way.
The really only question there was in this game was whether the Vikings might possibly be looking past this situation